Hello, divine creations, divine marvels, children of God. Thank you so much for dropping by this video. A warm welcome to our live viewers, and have a friend listening in live on the phone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, in the old days, when they would create a new town or a new city, they would put a church in the middle of the city, and then everything would be built around it. And you can see that in some towns where the streets are circular around a church. That's because originally, when they would build a city, one of the first things they would build is a church. And because they would orient their whole life, the goal was to orient their whole life towards God, and that was a symbol of that. Now, Bruno Groening said that there is no life without God. Now, obviously, he's not talking about biological life, because we can go our whole biological life and not really think about God. But according to Bruno's teaching, we're not actually living in the truest sense of the word. And more importantly, well, maybe not more importantly, but also on the same theme, he spoke about the power of evil. Now, when I first found this teaching, I did not like the word evil at all. I thought there's no such thing as evil. But as I've reflected on it, well, again, it's not so important what you call it, but to recognize that there is an energy, a consciousness, a force of disorder, of disharmony, of destruction. And actually, that's really insane. Truly, as as I've observed my thinking, and Bruno Groening said evil's primary way of getting at human beings is to send negative thoughts. Some of them are just straight out insane. That doesn't mean I'm insane. But to overcome this force, Bruno Groening said, Satan is mighty, God is almighty. He called us to a reflection and a contemplation on the fact that we're all up against a mighty foe. That's one of the reasons why I prefer the word evil over ego, because it's very easy to dismiss the word ego and just be like, oh, that's ego. But Bruno Groening was quite adamant that what we're dealing with is evil, and actually, he very straightforwardly declared the devil. Now, some people have a hard time believing that's literally true. It's not my job to convince anyone if that's literally true or not. And the idea of a conniving force that wants nothing but our destruction and us miserable. That's why I prefer the words evil and the devil. It reminds me of what I'm up against, and it reminds me of my need for God. Bruno Groening was adamant that he said, we cannot raise ourselves up. Only God can do that. That's very hard as human beings, especially 21st century human beings with our amazing technology, to have that humility that whatever this thing is, whether you call it the devil, ego, evil, illusion, delusion, whatever it is, we can't overcome it on our own. So let's reflect on all this, and reflecting on, in essence, why we need God. I think Bruno Groening's very simple answer is we need God because we're up against a mighty foe. But don't take my word for it. Don't take Bruno's word for it. He didn't want people to blindly believe him. He wanted people to come to convince themselves of the truth and to have a knowing inside themselves what's true. So let's spend a little time taking in the divine energy, handing over any burdens, any worries, any fears. And then having the will and the intention to receive, to take in divine healing energy while observing your body. taking in the good, having the will to receive it. Bruno Groening once said, don't play with evil, meaning don't underestimate its power. And that's a paraphrase. I can't find the exact quote. But he literally said, if you underestimate the power of evil, this force we're up against, you're playing with it. Fundamentally, there might just be two, maybe all spiritual errors boil down to one of two errors: underestimating the power of God, or underestimating the power of evil. So let's do neither. Let's recognize the power of evil, and let's recognize the supreme power of God. I used to try and just take parts of Bruno Groening's teaching, like, oh, the healing is cool, or oh, I like the healing energy, and not focus on the be mindful of your thoughts, not focus on be mindful of evil. And the thing is I got results. I got healings. I got physical healings. But it didn't fundamentally solve my problems. It didn't solve the root disease, which is evil. Bruno called his teachings the rules of the game of life. So it's for each one of us to determine if what Bruno taught is correct. And his claim is, hey, this is how life operates. And if you want to have a good life, an enjoyable life, here's what you need to do. He didn't call them, he didn't call it like cool spiritual ideas. They also didn't call us to blindly believe. He flat out declared, this is the truth. This is the rules of the game of life. And then he earnestly called us to find out if it was true or not. He didn't want blind followers. He wanted knowers, people who knew. He didn't want people following him. He didn't want people following an organization or another person. He wanted people following God. And if I'm doing my job well, what I'm teaching will get people to the place where they don't feel the need to come watch these videos. If they want to, or if it's supportive, or every now and then, great. But if I'm doing my job well, then I'm describing how to have a direct connection with God and how to follow God and get your own answers and be taught by God. And then to choose wisely. Like I still read spiritual books. I still occasionally go to spiritual gatherings or talks, but now I know how to listen. I listen, let's say I go to a sermon. I don't assume that everything that's said is true. I listen to each sentence and I'm like, yes, no, yes, that feels right. That doesn't feel right. I don't know about that. think so. All of our problems, individually and collectively, come down to one error: thinking we don't need God. And we can do it on our own. And for me, Christmas is a season of celebrating one of, if not the greatest, servants of God to walk this earth, Jesus. And that's what Bruno said, is that that Christ was surrendered, that Christ followed God. It can be hard to follow God. So many of us have been taught horrible things about God. From a psychological point of view, many people were mistreated as children. And as children, we kind of look to our parents as God. And then we are taught horrible things in religious institutions, or even there's abuse that occurs within religious institutions. And then those can be blockages to trusting and following God. So it can be very, very helpful to just adopt a new name. Like, not even, for temporarily. I didn't use the word God for a while. Source, or the divine, or spirit, that doesn't have those associations. Bruno called it the good. Called God the good. So I'd like to thank everyone for dropping by. Oh, look at that. I got a little comment. Anya. Oh, thanks, Anya. Yes, when I first heard it as a word to describe God, I was like, yes. Source, yes. And I like the phrase source love. But yeah, source is one of my favorite words for source, for God. And it can be life-changing. I took a spiritual course, and at the very beginning, the teacher suggested that we use a different word, and it changed my life. So I invite other people to it, and I think I'm going to pick it up again. I've been using God lately, but and maybe when I give these talks I will, but source. I really like source. I really like spirit. Yeah. So thank you everyone for joining in. Anya, thank you so much for your comment. Glad to hear the word source resonates. It's a good one. Really works for me. So I'm feeling the power very strongly today. So let's take this opportunity to really ask for complete release from all evil, for mercy, forgiveness, grace, guidance, humility, faith, mindfulness of our thoughts, regret when we've acted wrongly, seeking God, deeper and deeper devotion, and orienting our lives to God. Thank you so much for joining in, everyone. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. Take care.